vibrator with it. So I'm going to actually hook it up. What are you doing? Huh? Playing with that tire ain't no help. So I had a friend donate some 1/4-inch plate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to box in these 3 members here. And then I'm going to attach the vibrator to it somewhere in here so that when I'm down, I'm behind this beam. So I'm not having my rear wheels shoot a bunch of gravel and stuff into it. So I'll kind of use that as a shield. As much as I can. Because some of it's going to be up high, maybe I'll actually cut a shield and put it in there. I cleaned up the garage after all the car shows, so I finally got that clean. He didn't have a full plate, he had 3 separate plates. So I'm going to weld those all together. And then here's the vibrator. I don't think a woman could use that one. So I'm going to weld that chunk of steel on there, and then bolt that to that, and I'll get to the wiring later. This might end up being a couple-day project because I'm retired and I don't put in full 8 hours anymore unless I have to. So let's see what I can get done today. Okay, I've got the edges cleaned up and beveled, and for me to get the exact size I need to fill in that gap. Now I don't want to weld my material to the table, so I am going to put this sheet of copper on the back side of it. It won't weld to the copper, and then I can fill in that gap. I'm also going to clamp a bar across to help contain the warping that's going to happen with this. I'm going to also do like a 2-inch tack here, 2-inch tack there, 2 in the middle, and then I'll come back and I'll stitch it all together. That'll also help with the warping, I hope. Okay, it ain't pretty, but it's functional. So I got the plate welded up. I'm going to square it up a little bit, and then I've got to mark it for that brace, drill some holes, run the bolts through, and once I get all that set up, lined up, then I'm going to weld this plate to the trailer along with that brace. The nuts are going to be captive for this, so I will weld them to the back side of this plate. If they ever shear off, then I'll just have to use a torch to get them off. It's not a big deal. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to probably have to go to the parts store to get parts. Okay, I did a dry fit with the plate. Fits perfect. I took the vibrator motor, put it under there. I marked where it needs to be so it doesn't hit any of the framing of it. I've got this chunk of steel here, iron. I don't have a chop saw, so I cut it with a torch. I'll clean up that end. I'll measure to the size I need. And basically this end's going to weld to the frame, and so will the other end. And then all 4 corners will be welded to the frame of the trailer bed. I've decided, instead of getting longer bolts and having a blind nut cap behind it, I ended up having a tap, a 3/4 16 tap for it. So I'm just going to tap that crossbar where it needs to be, and that'll be my nut. So that way, if I need to replace this motor at any time, I don't have to deal with captive nuts that have busted welds or whatever, or however I was going to hold it on there. I think I have wire. I'm not sure. I think I've got everything in place to get this done today, and then I've got some old starter solenoids downstairs from the 67 Mustang I had, so that'll work. And then I'm just a regular toggle switch would probably work because we got low voltage going to the solenoid. Maybe I'll have this thing finished up tomorrow. Okay, back to it. I had to take dinner break yesterday, and that turned into Wine Fest. What I got going on here, I need to cut this to length. And this side and this side are going to weld to the frame of the trailer, and I'm going to run a weld down through. This is going to sit on top of the plate steel. I don't have a chop saw that would cut steel this big, so I cut it with a torch, and then I'm just going to get it to size with the end mill. I had one of these holes right here that were halfway into the end, so I filled it full of weld so that I'd have a good weld all the way through it, and less chance of it cracking there. I don't know how much this vibrator is going to shake, but it only took 5 minutes to weld up that hole. So we're going to clean this up. I need an 11/16 drill bit to drill for the 3/4 tap. I don't have one, but I do have a 5/8, so I'm going to drill 5/8, and then I'm going to plunge an 11/16 end mill down through to do the tapping for the motor mounts. Okay, back to you later. Okay, it took me forever to get this hole drilled for this tap. The reason why is I don't have an 11/16 drill bit. So I started with a half, went with a 5/8 end mill, an 11/16 end mill, and now the dilemma is my chuck's not big enough to hold the tap. So what I ended up doing is putting a point on a punch here. I am going to put the tap in here. Hold on here, let me lower this down. And now I'm going to go old school on this. This is the same center line as the hole, so it'll stop the tap from wandering. And I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes doing a turn at a time. Thank God I only have 2 holes to do. Okay, here we go. That's the contraption. I welded the longer pieces onto this so that that foot would not be overhanging. The reason I didn't center it in the middle is when I tapped this, I wanted to make sure there was enough thread in the parent metal here. I didn't want it on the split. So I also added a safety chain to it. So if these bolts ever vibrate loose and I'm driving this 35, 40 pound behemoth, don't go falling down and bouncing down the road and taking somebody's car up. So I've prepped the trailer. I've got it down to bare metal where I'm going to weld. I just need to clean up these, and I'm going to try to weld this in place, but I have a problem. I don't think I got enough argon to do this, and we're going into the weekend, so at the very least I'll get it tacked in and then maybe wired up, and then Monday I'll run into town and get some argon. I don't think I have time. The closest place is in Howell, and that place is hit and miss whether they have anything. They don't even carry CO2 half the time. Okay, let's get this thing into place and tacked in. In case you're wondering how I got this into place, is I got 2 jacks under here, some blocks of wood, and I'm bringing the bed down to it, and then I'll weld it into place. You can see where I've cleaned it up a little bit. I noticed that this side didn't seem to go up as high as the other side, so I got out the tape measure, and these beams are not all the same, put in the same dimension height wise, and we got an inch gap here, and we got 3/4 here, so that was why I was overhanging a little bit. So now that I'm understanding that it wasn't pinched in there or warped, I'm gonna go ahead and get this baby tacked in, and then go from there. Yay. That's it for today. Just ran out of argon. I actually welded more than I should have without it. But so when I get the argon, then I'll finish this up and make it look a lot nicer and neater than it is right now. And then when this drops down, the vibrator's gonna fit in that pocket there. I'm gonna go see if I can strip some wire, maybe start working on the wiring, and until I get this thing straightened out. Well, neighbor filled me out. He had a tank with 400 pounds in it. It got me through the welding. I ain't getting real close to it because it looks like a teenager's pockmarked zit face. Not real good at welding upside down, but it'll work. I'm gonna go get some 1-inch wire loom and run it in so it'll look proper. For now, I don't have the solenoid hooked up. I'm just going to fire this up for you to show that it works and nothing's flying off. And I retract my previous statement about women not enjoying this. I think if there were a few of them that sat in this while it was down, it might be quite enjoyable. Here we go. Okay, I don't think I'm going to have any problem getting logs out of this anymore. So I'm going to get some Rust-Oleum pour over rust, get that on there, wire loom, starter solenoid. I want to clean up this box. This looks like a mess. I'm going to put a little toggle switch in there, get it all figured out. But the hard part is all done, so it's just cleanup right now. Yeah. 2 days project. I didn't bore you with the pre-project news because this is just an addition to what I've been working on. I got the wiring in. Got this undercoated, and had a starter solenoid from my '67 Mustang that I had found. Had a piece of brass. So I hooked this all up in here, made a nice little plate with a toggle switch. Woo! And it shakes. So this project's done. Now I can load it up with wood, flip the switch, and it all comes out.